Call to order this special call meeting for the Siloam Springs Board of Directors, April 1st, 2025. Roll call.
Blair.
Here.
Burns.
Here.
Wiles.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Rissler.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
Thank you. So the only agenda item we have tonight for the special call meeting is an executive session. We are going to go, I would ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of considering employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of any public officer or employee. Do I have a motion for that?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Burns.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen. Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Motion is approved. At this time, we will recess into an executive session. Once we are completed, we will come back and announce any decisions that might be made, or if there's none, we will let you know that too. Thank you. I will call back to order the special called meeting for the Siloam Springs Board of Directors for April 1, 2025, during which time we have been in an executive session. There was a unanimous decision made by this board that there will be a written reprimand given to our city administrator for violation of a city policy. Directives have been given for corrective action, and there will be a review in 90 days of those directives. Directors, any other comments at this time? There is not. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Special call adjourned. Move into our regular Siloam Springs Board of Directors meeting for April 1, 2025. Roll call.
Blair.
Here.
Burns.
Here.
Wiles.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Rissler.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
At this time, I would ask that you all please stand with me as Director Hunt leads us in prayer, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the citizens of Siloam. But I thank you also for the break that many of us had last week with the spring break for the children and for the teachers. Take a little bit of time away from the day-to-day. Lord, I pray that you are just with us tonight as we talk about issues related to
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would ask that anyone that has an electronic device, please silence that or turn it off so we don't have an interruption during the board meeting. Thank you very much for doing that. First on our agenda is public input time. I would like to ask if there is anyone here that would like to address the board on any item that is not on our regular agenda. You will have 3 minutes, and I will need for you to give us your name and address when you come forward. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Board. Arthur Holbert, 20705 Highway 16. Tonight I'm talking on behalf of the Siloam Springs Chamber of Commerce. As its president, I do want to welcome you all and the community to our Dogwood Festival. It'll be April 25th through 27th. Every year it's big. This year will be even much, much bigger. We have at least 50 additional booths, more than we did last year. Something new, we're going to have a children's entrepreneur market, which is going to be really cool for children selling unique things of gifts and services. We'll have the usual great food, vendors, live music, fun zone with rides and games, pageant, Winnie dog races for those little puppies with the little short legs. We'll have our Dogwood Duck Race. They're actually not live ducks, but they're plastic ducks going down Sager Creek, so it'll be fun. Do come out and support Kiwanis too. They always do a really good breakfast Saturday morning, so come out and support them. And I do want to thank the city of Siloam Springs, because without the relationship that we have with the city, we wouldn't be able to do the Dogwood Festival too. So collaborative effort with there. So sincerely appreciate that. Everyone's welcome. Thank you. Good night. God bless.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Alma Sanchez. I reside at 408 Greenwood Place in Siloam Springs. I also own a business in downtown, the Park House Kitchen and Bar. I am here to talk about Dogwood Festival, so that was the nice segue. He forgot to mention that a lot of things are changing this year, which I'm all for, but there's going to be several additional road closures this year, including Broadway and Mount Olive. So I just want to make sure that we're going about notifying all the citizens that live, not necessarily have a business in those areas, but the people that live there. My understanding is there will be permanent barricades put up that cannot be moved, which I get the safety concern, but some of us still need to get to our houses and to our places of business to operate. The permit has already gone through approval. I was notified by the city today, but the chamber has a public input meeting on Thursday morning at 8:30 for us to come discuss, but I feel like it's kind of a ruse. We're not actually getting input if the permit has already been approved. We're being told what's happening, and I don't really appreciate that. I've been very, very understanding and operate my business. It'll be our 6th Dogwood Festival, and I don't understand why there can't be any kind of compromise where maybe there's a manned barricade that still allows certain people with credentials or a placard to get into my private property to park so they can go to work. Are you guys aware of the new permit changes to the Dogwood Festival this year? Has everyone seen the new map for street closures? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, the board ultimately has the final say in any permits. That was brought to my attention as I am organizing Pride, that you guys always have the final say if a permit can be approved. So I just feel like there needs to be a little bit more public input before it's just, this is the way it is. You guys are gonna need to shuttle into work or walk into work. And I'm okay with that. We can all get to work. I'm concerned about the people that live at the Crown or live at apartments on Broadway or Alpine. There's several people that live down here that won't be able to get to their house. And with Broadway now being filled with vendors, there's no parking. So I'm also concerned about a parking crisis that we may run into with people that are used to being able to park in all these lots. So I just feel like that's something that you guys should be made aware of, and we should discuss a little bit further before it's just, this is the way it is. You guys operate the rest of the year fine without any, I know it's only 3 days, but really the closures start on Wednesday. So this affects my business starting on Wednesday all the way through Sunday. And all the streets around me, access will start on Thursday at 7 a.m. So I just feel like it's something that we should make the public aware of and open up before we just say this is the way it's going to be. And I know there's a meeting on Thursday that we've been invited to, but I don't feel like that's public input. I feel that's them telling us how it's going to be. So
Thank
I
you,
would
Alma.
appreciate you guys looking into that for me and
Thank
the
you.
citizens that live down there.
Is there anyone else?
Good evening, Board and Madam Mayor. My name is Joshua Spencer. I reside at 13505 St. Andrews Drive. I'm not here this evening on behalf of myself, but I'm representing the Siloam Springs Firefighters Association, Local 2855. I am currently serving as the president and have done so for the last 2 years, vice president before that, and then just a ordinary regular member before that. I also have Ashlyn Andrade sitting over here. She is the secretary, and this is her second term as secretary. So just wanting to come up here, trying to do something a little bit new, put a face to the name, let you know that we're out there. I'm sure some of you are aware that we have been an organization for many decades. Firefighters long before my time that have been retired, a couple still at the fire department, but started this a long time ago, and I'm just looking to carry on that tradition and try to do new things, get our image out there and let everybody know what we're about. So Just a couple examples of things we have done over the last couple years since I have had the pleasure of being the president. Last year, we did a cornhole tournament downtown. We raised a couple $1,000s that all those proceeds went to Abigail Davis and HR for her and her family during a time of need. The rib sale that everybody's pretty familiar with, I'm sure, along with Kevin Roberts, who does a fantastic job because there's no way we could cook 300 plus racks of ribs in a couple days without his assistance. But we lead that and we put that on, and that money goes partially, not all of it, but partially goes towards the awards banquet for the firefighters that we have every single year. We coordinate with the fire department themselves and get plaques and food and the venue and everything of that nature. We have done multiple other events over the past few years where we have been able to raise significant proceeds towards families that have medical needs for their children. Specifically, Zach Griggs, we raised over $4,000 a couple years for him and his family. Some of you may be familiar with that name. We bought a diabetic alert dog for one of our firefighters, and his daughter a couple years back assisted with providing money for that. So we're just here really to support our firefighters first and foremost, but anybody else in the community and that's kind of in our direct vicinity as well. So just really, again, wanted to put our name out there, want to try and do this on a quarterly basis, kind of like the Chamber of Commerce, and just let everybody know we're out there. And, that way if you need anything or have any questions, you kind of know who to go to. And then just lastly, on May 24th, we're going to be holding a pickleball tournament at the courts here in town. We're still working out the final details, but we have a Facebook page, Siloam Springs Firefighters Association. So go like that page. We'll be posting on that. There'll be sign up, QR codes, all that stuff. Going to have food, prizes, all kinds of other stuff going on outside the tournament, unless if you're not a big pickleball player. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? If not, is there anyone here that would like to address the board on an item that is on our consent agenda tonight? There is not. So with that, we will move into the consent agenda. Item A, regular meeting minutes, March 18, 2025. B, special called meeting minutes, March 18, 2025. Item C, budget amendment, Police Department, upfit of a special response vehicle, $15,000. Board, anything that you would like to have removed for separate consideration?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
letter A, the regular minutes, I've got an addition.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Not, is there anyone in the audience? There is not. So first of all, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda with item A removed.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Burns,
Yes.
Wiles,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Motion is approved. David?
Yes,
Item A.
Madam Mayor, on the director's reports, I just wanted to reflect that I did make a motion, and there was a second to spend the money to renovate the community building and use the money from the sale of the Oklahoma land to pay for that, even though I did rescind it after we were told there would be a proposal brought to us with more concrete numbers. I just want that added in under my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And the clerk is nodding her head. She will make that addition to those minutes. So then do I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for March 18th with the added
So moved.
Second.
motion and second? Roll call.
Wiles,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Burns.
Yes.
Motion is approved. With that, we will move to our regularly scheduled items, starting with contracts and approvals. Contract amendment, Parks and Recreation, Youth Sports, Boys and Girls Club of Western Benton County. Travis.
Good evening, Mayor, Board. Travis Cheney, Parks and Recreation Manager. For many years, youth swimming in Siloam Springs has been administered by the Siloam Flyers organization. At the beginning of this year, the individual who's run the Flyers for many years reached out to us and indicated she would be stepping down from that role. She had already spoken with Chris Shimmer at the Boys and Girls Club, who has a lot of experience with organizing and running youth swimming. And Boys and Girls Club also has the insurance to make sure that that happens safely. And so we are making a recommendation to this board to amend the Boys and Girls Club's contract that they have with the city to include operating youth swimming. And I'm here for any questions you may have, and also Chris Schimmer from the Boys and Girls Club and Stephen from the Boys and Girls Club are here if y'all have any questions for us.
Thank you, sir. Directors, comments or questions?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, David?
I've known Chris and Steve for a long time. I served on the board, and we couldn't go with a better group to pick up the slack on this. And I appreciate them stepping up to the plate to help do this. I will say it's kind of odd because Chris was just highlighted on the front page of the newspaper to do with the local swim team. Big front page picture and everything. So his dedication goes far and wide. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anyone else? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this contract for youth sports? There is not. Directors, do I have a motion to approve the contract amendment for Parks and Recreation Youth Sports with Boys and Girls Club?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Burns.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next item is Ordinance 25-10, first reading, vacation of right-of-way to 201 North College Street. Kevin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Kevin Moore, Public Works. Tonight's the second reading for the right-of-way vacate on College Street. Staff has not received any additional correspondence between last meeting and this. The board did request a concept striping plan, so that was provided to you all, I believe, towards the end of last week, just for your review. But I would encourage you to keep that separate from your determination on whether or not to close the right-of-way itself. And keep in mind that the striping could be done with or without the right-of-way closure. And with that, staff's available for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Directors, comments or questions?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
so I sent a couple of questions, and so why don't we like the concept of lease of right-of-way? I know you have a lot on your plate. It just blew your mind.
Well, there would be concerns with it still being public right-of-way, having that structure still technically public right-of-way, but being leased to an individual.
Let me say this first. I applaud you guys for working through that immediately. I know you went down there the next day after the board meeting, and you're working diligently to make this work. So that's fantastic. So let's just get that right there. But on that rendition of there, I think we still, there is some impact. It's change. Siloam does not like change. So it's changed to the Masonic Lodge, it's changed to Park House parking. We've increased parking, or increased people coming there, which is all good stuff. I know you're also going to address the signage. But as we go through this reading and through the next one, I would just encourage us to meet with the local businesses down there, because you know, whether you frequent that place or not, it is an impact on that design. So the 3 parking spots on our left facing to the west, as of last night, and a Sunday brunch as an example, or a Saturday brunch, the cars are just stacked up there. So we've reduced that parking to 3. So we still have some things, I think we still have some things to negotiate to work through that.
And the concept's not final, though I do want to mention there's no official parking in that location as far as I'm aware. I think it's just being used for that currently.
The whole area was abandoned and forgotten about until we established businesses there. And then we are addressing a good problem. And it's a challenge for staff to address that problem. And that problem is people are coming downtown. So, you know, it's a good problem to have. And there's no enforcement. I've I've never seen a cop down there passing out tickets for illegal parking because it's just not how it rolls down there. Never has. And I've lived in that neighborhood for over 20 years, and I walk there every morning, well, not every morning, a lot with a dog, and nobody else in the city's there. It's just me. But I'm just telling you right now, I just think communicating with those, and if that's what we need to do as a board, or the board member that's in that ward, but as we shrink up that parking down there and we change it, communicating change helps alleviate a lot of problems. So I like where you're going with the striping and all that. I just want to make sure that Park House is on board, the Masonic Lodge is aware of the changes that are occurring, because the Masons have been there long before any of us. And they're out there. I don't know who they are because I don't have the handshake, but you know what I mean. I've been to their pancake breakfast. And it's outside milling around. We're really just changing that street, and we're making it the true one-way that it's always supposed to be anyway, right? So, but just up front, I appreciate it, man. You guys hopped right on it. You're doing a great thing. But I still think we have to navigate a few challenges there when it comes to parking on the west-hand side, so Riverside. Thanks, Kevin.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, David?
Kevin, I also want to say thank you for reaching out to try to come up with a solid solution. It means a lot to me that you would jump right in after the last meeting and at least work to come up with something that would work. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Ken?
Kevin, just correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I'm dreaming this. I thought I had heard after last meeting's discussion that maybe there was a solution that was somewhat viable. Is this, and I don't have all the details, I'm sorry, I wish I could be more specific, I cannot. But is this addressing that, or am I just thinking I heard something that's not even close to being right?
The concept we provided addresses most of our concerns in that area. The area, especially right in front of the deck, would be demoed and removed instead of just striped, which was, as striping fades, that was one of the primary concerns. And just additional, arrows on the pavement, and then the arrows at the intersection with Benton Street to make sure that people aren't trying to come down south into College would help a lot in that area.
So with those corrections, would you still recommend non-approval?
Staff has to recommend denial because it goes below our minor local street standard. So if the
If
board,
those corrections are made, it will go below that?
just due to the width being vacated, it only leaves about 44 feet instead of our 50.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at the board's pleasure if you're comfortable with that or not, but staff can't recommend it.
Kevin, can you pull
But
the
in your
microphone
mind,
closer?
in your mind, it would suffice?
As a one-way street.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Ken, are you referring to did we get an email that said we thought there was a solution? Because I thought we had, and I can't find it now.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. I know I've heard, but is that something you did send out?
I think Alan had sent out an email after we had actually gone out there, and then a few days later, I followed up with the concept.
Okay, yeah, okay. So just because I can't find it doesn't mean we didn't all get it. Okay, because I thought it was, we think we found a solution, right? Okay.
Yes, one of the things we did is I called staff, met me out there the next morning, and we just bounced around some ideas of a curb cut and different things like that to get that buffer. So I think I sent that email to the board letting you know what we were doing, and Kevin be working on a concept.
And that's part of this?
It's entirely separate from the right-of-way vacate, and so I'm trying not to combine the two.
I understand, but we have to have a solution for the vacate. I mean, if we vacate, then we have to have a solution to.
To address the deck,
I
yes.
understand they're two separate issues, but they sort of go together.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to separate. But it sounds like you're saying that you think the solution could be a workable solution, even though you can't necessarily recommend it? Because of the,
I can't recommend the closure because it doesn't meet our requirements, and we have the other concerns just with the safety of the deck and the maintenance of the street in the future. But the concept addresses most of our concerns as far as keeping traffic away from the deck, should it be vacated.
So in this case, if we made that part of the ordinance then, saying passing with this stipulation that we go this route, I mean, is that, how do we, what's the easiest way to pass this? Because apparently, I mean, it sounds like this may be the best solution, at least to date. So what then, do we just pass this as it is and then come back, maybe Chris I know you're getting ready to say something, and come back at a later time with the changes as they were presented, or do we combine them as one?
I don't think we need to combine them. If you wish to vacate the right of way, I would say pass it as is, and then staff will work to make the street safe.
Chris, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Chris Paxton, I'm the Director of Community Development. A vacation of a right-of-way can't be stipulated with conditions.
Alan, did you have something you were saying?
No, in our conversation, just the board to understand, if you pass the right-of-way, we will work diligently to make this work. So that's why we gave you a concept, but we also understand that we may have to make, if it depends on angle parking, because we want to make sure Park House and everybody else, we have parking over there to make sure. So a lot of that, we can't get into a lot of that until you approve that. I think that's what Kevin's trying to say. Once you approve that, then we will move on to the next phase, but we feel like we can get something done, correct, Kevin?
And that's correct. And we're also essentially obligating public funds to make a private structure safe. And that's kind of the other issue.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So and I hope this isn't off topic because the mayor will call me out
Yes, I will.
immediately. Yes, ma'am. So with us working with a business, can we add in there a request from that business? Because I'm thinking, and I'm not sure if anybody likes this that owns milling around, and I'm okay with that, but there is significant available parking on the north end of that structure that would help alleviate a lot of parking that is already occurring on that street. And so, you know, I feel like if we, as a city, are doing what we are doing, we're working with this street to make that deck work, and we've gotten a ton of emails praising it. In return for that, as that business grows, because they only have one space left and they may not have that space based on the Facebook post. I didn't follow up on it, but there's quite a bit of parking there on that north end that would take a lot of stress off that. So is that something that we can just encourage them to do, or what are your thoughts on that?
That I think you're right. I think that's something we could encourage them to do, but we certainly couldn't tie it to the right-of-way vacate or any of the work that we're doing in the area. And I know there are shared parking agreements between the different downtown businesses, maybe with Main Street or maybe separately. I'm not sure the details, but it could possibly be something similar.
I'm just thinking, I'm talking out loud, but you know, I just feel like as goodwill, if staff is following the directives of the board and going above and beyond, which I think you're doing, and in return for that, I think the business should probably, you know, do likewise and help with that additional parking. As an example, Dogwood Festival, and that would be the parking for milling around and Park House staff in that back lot, you know, problem solving, which now I know they're going to talk about Thursday, I hope. But I just, I wanted to just say it out loud so that the owners can consider that as we work through a solution. Thank you.
Kathy?
Thank you. You said street maintenance in the future, what? That it would interfere with that. What do you mean by that?
The right-of-way as currently proposed is more or less to the edge of asphalt. And typically, we have a buffer behind that just to allow equipment and everything else to maintain it and add improvements in the future, like sidewalks.
Okay.
So we would be, reducing that ability in the future.
And you mentioned public funds to make a private structure safe. What kind of money are we talking about, since we're back to the striping and stuff?
I didn't put an estimate to it. I can certainly have that before the next meeting. I would guess somewhere in the 8,000 to 10,000 range.
So I know this is going to be unpopular, but I have had a few citizens say, since it was done, it violates city code, the process was not followed. Is there a fine? Is there something that happens? Because then my thought also is, maybe that money could go to help pay for if it's going to cost the city. Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Chris?
whenever we have an issue where there's a compliance issue, we always start with working with the individual that has the compliance issue to bring that into compliance. And this process is a part of them bringing it into compliance. A citation is usually the last resort that we go to.
Okay.
In this case, I do not believe there's been any citations.
Okay. It's just a lot of money. Yeah, citizen taxpayer money, so.
Madam Mayor?
So,
Oh,
yes.
sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, we kind of need to come back to the vacation of the right-of-way. We're kind of getting away from that. As Kevin stated, they really can't do anything and make those determinations until you all decide if you want to vacate or you do not.
I was
So,
just going to
yes,
state that
David.
in regard to cost, at the city's cost to fix the problem, as Brad said, this has been a problem for decades. This whole one-way street not being striped properly and parking striping not being done. So I think it's just a matter of we have gotten away with for years not maintaining the street and parking. So I think it's just overdue for some maintenance. And I think we would do this same thing no matter where it was around the city if it was in dire need. Also, well, no, that's getting off topic. Yeah, Madam Mayor, I think we need to get back to what we're talking about.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor?
Ken?
Just real quick, just so everybody will know, I was not real in favor of it last time, but I voted for it, excuse me, to do a little bit more research. I'm closer now, but I still have some questions and concerns that I will address, but I will go ahead and vote for it again tonight, just so we can keep the process going, but I will be paying visits, coming and talking to people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Directors, any other comments or questions on the vacation? If not, is there anyone in the audience who would like to address this ordinance 2510? Yes, ma'am. Come to the podium and give us your name in 3 minutes.
My name is Alma Sanchez. I live at 408 Greenwood Place in Siloam Springs. I also own a business at 201 West University in downtown Siloam Springs. I was here 2 weeks ago to discuss this matter, and we ran out of time. So today I wanted to pull up an email just to see how long I've been asking for some kind of acknowledgement of the problem on that street. I came 2 weeks ago as a friendly neighbor to help the linkers and just give my input. But I also brought something up to the board, or not to the board, to the city planning. I've got an email dated November 8th, 2023, with them telling me they're working on a resolution to make the street more visible as a one-way for all the people visiting that aren't necessarily familiar with that street and they're coming to visit our downtown. The one little sign that is at the University and North College corner, most of the time is blown over from the wind. It's barely standing up straight, and you can't see it when you're on University unless you've already turned onto the street, which isn't a problem because you're turning the right way. But if you're coming out of that spot after you've had an hour to mill around or go to Park House or just visit the parks that are readily accessible right there, our bathing springs, the waterfall, you don't remember that you went up a one-way. You're not familiar with it. So we're getting a lot of people going up the wrong way. This was 2 years ago, before milling around was even there. I would notice it just as the restaurant traffic and people coming to visit the parks, going the wrong way and getting pulled over, which I understand they're breaking the rules, but a lot of this is happening in the daytime, so it's not bar traffic going the wrong way in the middle of the night. And they're being policed. Our officers are pulling them over and doing their job, but I feel like it is a waste of resources to have to monitor that. If we could make it more prevalent as they're turning, a bigger sign, or maybe adding some kind of sign that says, this is our park, here's the trail, and it says one way on it, this way, coming from both directions on University. So it's big, and it looks like the other signs that we want tourists to pay attention to for direction. I think something that looks like that would be a lot more helpful than just a sign that's barely there, really small. We have zero striping there. So you really can't tell once you get on the street that it is a one-way. It's not very apparent if you haven't been here before. And lots of people that live here and go there a lot also forget and go the wrong way. I also have a little bit of input on turning that whole space into just 3 parking spots. I drove by today on my way here, and I counted 10 vehicles that were able to fit safely there. They're not marked, but they're not breaking any rules. It doesn't say no parking or city property. So once we change that to the 3 spots, which I'm okay with, if that's the way they want to do that, I'm not sure everyone's going to follow that. But also, I feel like it's a waste of resources. Those spots aren't just for me. They're for anyone visiting the park, and that's access to the park and to our downtown right there. Thank you.
Absolutely. And have you shared that, your concept, what you would like to see, have you shared that with our planning department?
I'm
so
still
that they
waiting
can-
for the follow-up email
Okay.
from 2023. So I'm just here to help with the save the deck. And now that you guys have it on your radar, maybe I can have some input on that. But no,
Sure.
I haven't, and they haven't reached out to me. I've sat with some board members and discussed my concerns, but not anyone from the planning committee.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Mike Horton, 23063 Lawless Road. Madam Mayor, the board, this whole project, I sent to you all about 6 weeks ago, each of you, and the mayor and 2 or 3 others responded. I resent this whole concept, and I resent it bad, that not only is this going to cost 8 to 10,000 perhaps, but how much time have we paid our city out of our pockets for somebody else's mistake or lack of better word, mistake, oversight, and didn't follow the rules and regulations of the city. And as you all know in my letter, and I won't take the time because I've already used half of it, but it's sad when we try to cover up and we don't take care of what should have been taken care of to start with. Not only is it going to cost us more, we've already paid our city employees several $1,000s probably, perhaps, or more to try to cover up somebody else's stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else? If not, board, I will ask if I have a motion to place ordinance. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
I want to say, I've gotten lots of calls and comments when I walk into places. And we also received the emails to support the deck, but I've also had contact regarding the other direction of supporting the deck. And I agree with one citizen. If our fire and our police are saying something's unsafe, we value their opinion every other time. When do we stop valuing their opinion? And I support staff. If this was personal, I would vote for it automatically, but it's not personal. We are not elected to make personal decisions. We're elected to do what's right for this community as a whole. And so when staff recommends that something's not safe, and they try to give us the guidelines, and we all have to follow the guidelines, whether we like it or not. We have rules we have to follow. If I need a permit, I go get a permit. And so I've got to support staff on this because it's not personal for me. I think the restaurant that it was built for is an amazing restaurant. I encourage people to go to that restaurant, but I can't make a decision based personally on that. Safety has to be a priority, and I have to value staff's input. And I've had a lot of calls. Like I said, I've had a lot of calls. We got emails for, and then we got calls, and people stopping us against. And so, and the cost to the other citizens, I hate to put, there's some other issues. I stood in someone's backyard the other day, and I was told by staff before, we cannot put that cost to all the other citizens to fix that person's mistake, even whether it's in their yard or at their property or their business. Our responsibility is to make sure we're good stewards of the citizens' money, even if it's $5,000, $10,000, or $100,000. And so I have to vote no.
Thank you,
Madam
Lisa.
Mayor.
Mindy?
I hate to put anyone on the spot here, but it looks like our fire chief did state he was for it. So one of our public safety officers said they were for it, and the police chief said he felt like it was not advisable to narrow the right-of-way to the edge of the streets. But I think some of the plans may be helping that a little bit. So I just felt like I needed to say that.
Yeah, and I've had other conversations too. It's not just, so.
All right, thank you. So, board, do I have a motion to place ordinance 25-10 on its second reading, suspending the rules, reading by title only?
Moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Chrysler?
No.
Allen?
Yes.
Carroll?
Yes.
Blair?
No.
Burns?
Yes.
Wiles?
Yes.
Hunt?
Yes.
Motion is approved by a 5-2 vote. Next is ordinance 25-11, first reading.
Madam Mayor,
I'm sorry, yes, Alan.
my apologies. Number 25-10, ordinance vacating and abandoning the right-of-way at 201 North College Street.
Thank you, sir. So next is ordinance 25-11. This will be first reading for amending section 102-21 of the City Municipal Code, PD Zone Amendment, 3500 block of East Kenwood Street. Ben?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the board, Ben Rhodes, Senior Planner. This is a amendment of a previously approved plan development, that ordinance. This is at the 3500 block of East Kenwood Street. And so the applicant, what they're desiring to do is amend a portion of the regulations within that zoning ordinance. And that amendment, as stated in staff report, increases the maximum lot coverage from 40 to 50%. No other changes are proposed. This request is strictly just administrative. And one thing that's notable is that with the plan development, as you recall, there was designs that were submitted with that concept plan that came in for the townhomes. No design changes are being proposed, so it will appear exactly as it was originally intended, but they're just wanting to change that one metric in the code increasing that lot coverage. And the reason for that is the applicant found out later that they need to subdivide the property into smaller lots for financing. And when they did that, that triggered some issues with the lot coverage within the zoning as they had previously approved it. So this is why they're requesting just to increase that by 10% to the 50%. Staff, or Planning Commission has recommended approval of the proposed amendment, and it is consistent with zoning standards. We stand ready for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Madam Mayor.
Directors, so yes.
Ben.
Betsy, and then I'll come to
Ben,
you, David.
before you sit down.
He's going to answer from the table.
So I've read through it, and I'm not 100% understanding the 40% to 50%. Is that saying that the lot size, like the houses would be bigger and the lot size is allowed to be smaller? What is that saying exactly? Can you dumb it down for me?
None of the house sizes are changing at all. What they're doing is they're splitting the property into smaller lots. And so when you have a smaller lot to work with, the percentages go up. And so they have to increase the maximum lot coverage allowed in order to not trigger a code violation. So that's what's happening.
So they already got it changed to planned development, and now they want the lot sizes even smaller than we typically allow. Is that correct?
Well, they're creating lots, whereas before it was one larger lot. But again, there's no changes to the physical design. The townhomes are going to stay the same orientation, the parking staying the same. No physical changes are being proposed. It's an administrative change to increase the lot coverage. So because of these lots that they're trying to provide. So.
Or you could say it's an administrative change to allow the lot size to be made smaller. The coverage of the house is bigger, but the lot size itself, the yard, will be smaller.
Yes, I mean, they will be creating lots, but these are all for townhomes. So they're not individual single-family houses with lots. These are townhomes that will have a lot per each townhome. So, or per block of townhomes, if you will. So it's just an administrative change. No one will know where these lot lines are before or after. It's just more of a financing thing they need to have to create these into individual sellable areas. So.
Thank you.
Is that all, Betsy? Yeah? Okay, so I'm coming to you, David, and then I'll come to you, Reed.
Thank you, Ben, for explaining that. In the previous version, was it just one big lot?
Correct, yes.
Okay, I see the pink line now and it says phase 1 and phase 2. So each phase is like a lot. No, is that correct?
That's correct,
okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate you explaining it because I'm like Betsy, I was lost on percentages and all this and thinking that I thought buildings were going to be bigger, but now, or take more green space, but now I see what you're talking about. Thank you.
Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we can summarize this, and they're going in small bites instead of one big bite.
Yeah, that could be one way to summarize it, yes. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Brad.
So I'll just voice a concern as this project moves forward, and I understand underneath 3 land use code requirements. And I encourage you, if you look at the picture of the lot and then the adjacent property to the east where we have several retention ponds that have the fencing around it, this whole area that we're developing, we have a PD to the east of it, is a wetland prairie. We have had significant issues in another subdivision to the west. And so I'm just going to strongly encourage us underneath Part E, storm sewer system, is that as we develop, that water has to go somewhere. and we all live downstream. And as we continue to develop off East Kenwood, I'm just encouraging developers and underneath this PD that we come up with more modern ways to manage discharge. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, David.
I never cared for this in the first place because of the very, very weird shape of the property. And I just hate to see more and more townhomes. But Brad is right, there are two water retention to the east, one directly to the northwest, and then one to the south. And when you're putting this much concrete down, it can turn into a major swamp. We all live downstream. You say that every meeting, don't you? I think that's like,
I want to.
you should put it under your name. Yeah, we all live downstream. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address ordinance 25-11? Yes, sir. Please give us your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Javier Chavez, 3116 East Kenwood. I'm one of the owners of this project, and we're hoping we get approved this. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. The reason I stand up, I would like to request, if it's possible, combine second and third reading on the next meeting. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? If not, directors, do I have a motion to place ordinance 25-11 on its first reading, suspending the rules, reading by title only?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Wiles,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Allen?
Ordinance number 25-11, ordinance amending section 102-21 of the Siloam Springs Municipal Codes, city zoning map, and repealing the ordinance 24-12 on property located at the 3500 block of East Kenwood Street.
Thank you, sir. Next is ordinance 25-12, first reading, amending the master street plan, required street improvements, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. Kevin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Kevin Moore, Public Works. I'll be presenting essentially the same language, but it does require two separate ordinances, one to amend the master street plan and one to amend Chapter 87. So just keep that in mind throughout our
So you are
discussion.
going to present for item G and H at the same time, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
yes. So at the direction of the board, staff prepared an amendment to the master street plan and to the minor local subdivision regulations in the code. And what you have before you here would automatically waive sidewalks and other requirements in the areas that it's applying. Staff really wanted to avoid a waiver process just because, you know, if waivers are challenged, there has to be an appeal process and things like that. So we would like some sort of language that would automatically waive sidewalks in some cases. And then, of course, it's up to the board how broad you wish to apply that. So the draft that you have before you has recommended changes from the Planning Commission as well. They voted to open that up and tie it to the master trail and sidewalk connectivity plan. And staff's intent with this was to be broad as far as what is waived. So frontage improvements being sidewalks, curb and gutter, street trees, lighting. Any of those things would be waived in areas where it's been originally platted prior to 2005 for cul-de-sacs and no outlet streets. And then sidewalks specifically being waived in areas platted prior to 2005 if they're not shown on that master plan and there's not already sidewalk there. Staff is available for any questions and looking for your input.
Thank you, Kevin.
Madam Mayor?
Directors? Yes, Betsy.
So, you know, this one is an important one to me, and I watched the Planning Commission meeting, and I don't think this is really going to address what we what we discussed, and Katie Renard brought up in the Planning Commission meeting, my neighborhood, which is a great example because we have a sidewalk to nowhere. Chances are we'll never have sidewalks out there except for where random builders are required to. So I really like what Jim Caldwell sent us. I think that would cover it. I would like to see us amend it to what he said, because then that would cover places like Country Acres, and there wouldn't have to be sidewalks when there aren't any others. And that's platted prior to 2005. And I know Director Hunt had talked about a sidewalk in her neighborhood. And so I feel like what Jim wrote would cover what we discussed initially, but yet still new neighborhoods, areas of town where there are already sidewalks and things. If somebody went in and built a new house, tore something down, then they'd have to fix the sidewalk. I think this would cover what we're trying to do, but yet still require new developments, things like that, to build the sidewalks, which was what the original intent was in 2005 when all of this started. So I would recommend altering the amendment.
Thank you, Betsy. Lisa?
I don't know how to ask this, so I'm trying to figure it out. So what this change is, it's only changing to just so I get clarification. So on our master plan, if it doesn't currently show that we are going to plan on putting a sidewalk in there, then they do not have to do the sidewalk. They can waive that.
Correct, if it was platted prior to 2005. So anything prior to 2005 and older, if it's not on that plan, would not be required to build a sidewalk unless it's already in that area.
Why 2005? I'm curious.
Just more or less setting a legacy date for the ordinance. We don't want to say, more than 20 years old because, as time changes. So we're setting it 20 years old currently. And then moving forward, that date is set in stone instead of flexible.
So in the master plan, Betsy, what's your subdivision called? Country Acres. In our master plan, I guess I didn't see where hers, they have to have sidewalks out there?
We do right now if somebody builds.
Well, right now, but whenever this goes through, is it on the master plan that they have to have it out there?
No.
I don't believe so. That master plan is fairly targeted towards schools, parks, public
Anything that's
built
close to a school
facilities.
or, okay.
They're given a higher priority, yeah.
I think I'm getting where I'm missing now. So we have this master street plan that we know where we want sidewalks. And like you said, it's around schools, hospitals, stuff like that, shopping.
Yes, and corridors. I mean, because you want some connections, even if there's not a school right in that area. You
Future
want
school.
from place to place. Yeah.
Okay, so this change doesn't just require just where we say we're going to put future. It can be, I guess I'm missing the determination. I guess I missed it in here.
The change, so sidewalks would not be required either to be constructed or for a fee if it's more than 20 years old today, and if it's also not on that plan. And so anything not on that plan, like essentially, like if we're looking at maybe College Street, I don't know if College Street off the top of my head is on that plan, but if there's no sidewalk there on that plan, then somebody building there would not have to put sidewalk because that was platted in the, late 1800s, early 1900s.
Madam Mayor, are you done, Lisa?
Anything else, Lisa?
Yeah,
Okay. Brad?
Oh, sorry, I felt her thinking. I didn't want to interrupt her.
Oh,
So-
and hopefully you'll say something that'll,
Hey, so I was on the board with the original intention, and it was good. That's all positive stuff. Coming back and revisiting it, you're on the right path, and I appreciate that. I love what, I use Washington Street as an example. That sidewalk's been there forever in bad shape, and there's some major connectivity going on. And I know we all received some positive email on that. My question is, and you know I've been rough on Jim Caldwell publicly. So now and I was kind to him privately. So now I'm going to be kind to him publicly. And then I made my amends with him. Not true. So on the 4.7.2 curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, what are your thoughts on his recommendations, which on I strikes out cul-de-sac or no outlet and completely strikes out double I? What are your thoughts?
My opinion is that that's too open-ended. It would not require sidewalks or even our master street plan on anything platted prior to 2005.
2005, what we're really talking about is, and I'm thinking of this area here, we just did a great overlay on, was it Tahlequah or Benton?
Tahlequah.
Tahlequah. Sorry, thanks, man, he's whispering in my ear. I just drove by it. But in the past, we had a struggle with the developer down there with Bunker, with a curb and gutter. Ben, you might recall that. So this isn't anything new for us. So it's really, in these areas, a lot of these areas, it isn't new development, it's redevelopment. We're either redoing a home or a house was removed and it's being replaced versus a zoning or a PD where we're actually doing new construction. And I think that's what's going to help with the folks that I've talked in that have been actively doing infill for quite some time. So I know they're a big fan of this change, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
Brad?
Madam Mayor.
I'm going to Mindy, and then I'll come to you, David.
Okay, so I may not completely understand platted, even though I've looked it up. But, so this recommendation that you've got here, based on what I know about the properties on Garland, I'm not sure that this would have fixed the problem that we had on Garland Street.
Correct. Garland is so close to that school, it's on our high priority list.
It would not work because of that.
Correct.
Okay.
But it's on that master plan.
But that, to me, is, what happened on Garland, to me, is a problem. So, now the way Jim wrote it, it would have been fixed, right? Because he's not taking the master sidewalk plan into consideration.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, and I understand prioritizing based on near schools, and that is one that we've been talking about for a while that does need sidewalk because of schools. But now we've got little sections of sidewalk on both sides of the street. Likely, we're not ever going to finish both sidewalk on both sides of that street, so.
Possibly not on both sides. And I think part of why that one is on that list is because it's the east-west connection between Dogwood and Carl.
And Mayor. David, did you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have had a feeling for some time. I remember years ago when the entire attitude of the city management and board, and I'm talking decades ago, of passing on the costs as much as possible with street fees and these sidewalks being built and everything else. I personally believe that unless, for streets and sidewalks to be built in a new development, fully on the backs of the developer. But in my opinion, the city should be responsible for sidewalks. We don't spend enough on sidewalks as it is. And I'm saying for major streets, established neighborhoods, infill, historic district, Progress Avenue is a street that we built, and we put a sidewalk on it. it was needed to connect two major thoroughfares. We have a lot of sidewalks around the town that are abutted a fence or that go 50 feet and then end. And these are on entrances to development. I don't have a problem with that, but by golly, if we're going to do that, we need to finish up where the sidewalk is. As a city, spend the money. We have got too many places around the town that do not have sidewalks or crumbling sidewalks, and we, as a board, get notification of that a lot because of the dangers of people walking and tripping, and a lot of that is in the historic district. I cannot imagine why we would ever require a new sidewalk to be built on a historic home renovation or a new home being built on an empty lot or an old home in historic district being torn down and replaced. It just does not make any sense to put these requirements on the historic area. We, as a city, in my opinion, should be paying for those.
Thank you, David. Lisa?
So I have a question. Can there be a compromise that it's the way it is, but if it's in the master street plan or within this 2005 criteria, then they can waive and ask for approval to waive from the directors?
We could
Would that be a
always add
compromise?
a waiver process.
Just for that part, not for the whole thing, because then that just adds another level. But it's only specific, because it'd be a waste of time for the other part. But if it's within this area, would that not, I mean, that would be a compromise. Am I thinking wrong?
No, I think that's a good line of thinking. My concern would be, as things develop and they are on these routes, and so they are coming to us for a waiver, where do we draw the line? Say two people come on, I keep going back to College Street, but say two people want to build on College Street, and we waive the first one, and then their neighbor builds, and, well, we could have had, two sidewalk sections completed. Or if we deny one and allow another, I mean, obviously sites are always a little bit individualized, but there are additional complications by going that route.
But if the board approved it, it takes the responsibility off of you and puts it on the liability, the responsibility, everything. Would that make staff feel better, or?
We would essentially be adding another waiver/permit process.
Oh, just add more work.
That's, public notice and whatever else, similar to, obviously not as intensive as a right-of-way vacate, but unless there were, something that we did for the right-of-way width with street classifications is we gave staff the power within a certain, like within one class. Staff can make that call, and then if either there's a challenge to that or if a developer's wanting more than one class reduction, then it would still have to go to the board.
So would a compromise be able to be made similar to that situation?
We could add language for a waiver to something that still applies to those requirements, like if they're on our map, and then an appeals process, I think is what that would look like.
Because I get around the schools, because we never know, and I'm not familiar with what Mindy's talking about. So I would like, now I want to, prompts me, we're going to go drive by, and we still have 2 more readings. But I get it around schools. I get it around the hospital and stuff like that. And so just finding a way to compromise.
I don't think there's a perfect solution. That's kind of the difficulty, because it's really hard to spend public funds on that last half mile, that last mile of sidewalk to a residence when it's not, our collector streets. Like, I know we've pushed really hard and we've applied several times for grant funding on Harvard. I think that's a sidewalk everybody wants from Carl to Mount Olive. So when they don't fall on that list for just the high priority, really highly used sidewalks, once they're in place, it's difficult for the city to go back and then, spend that money to put sidewalk in front of residences.
Right.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Reed. Is that? Reed.
I applaud the work that is being done between Kenwood and Jefferson on Washington. Thank you for it. The guys and gals, whoever's doing the work, they're doing well, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Betsy.
So my understanding is the sidewalk plan goes through like 2026, but only, I don't know if even 10% of it has been done. And I know there's only so much money and time to do everything. I'm not faulting that. So there'll be an update. And so what if the update decides, well, we should put sidewalks in Country Acres, but it might not happen for 20 years, or they change certain areas where they want sidewalks. So then this would no longer cover that the way it's written. And there are areas of town, like we have pictures of, where there are no sidewalks, but it might be on the master plan, but it could be another 20 years before anything happens, or probably even longer than that. So it seems like this is a step in the right direction, but it's not going to address all of these areas that we've brought up and that we've discussed.
Anyone else? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address Ordinance 25-12? We'll deal with that one first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jim Caldwell, 609 South Oak Hill. On August 23, at a joint meeting with the Planning and Zoning and this board, I presented a bunch of items, and this was one of them. So I'm glad we're finally to the point where we can talk about this at a public meeting. Since the ordinance was amended at the March 11th meeting with Planning and Zoning to add the master sidewalk plan, I thought it was important that y'all see that. The Planning and Zoning Board didn't have that in hand when they talked about that and added that to the ordinance. So again, it's important. It's already been brought out. The examples that I gave there, the 8 lots, all are on the master street plan to have sidewalks built on them. And yet, as you can see, that there's not been sidewalks built. And the other concern, again, I have with the master street plan is it was supposed to have been updated every 3 years. It should have been updated in 2023. I don't think the update's has still happened. And so I just caution to have to ordinate a plan like that if it's not going to be updated. And as has already been mentioned, it's only a few percent has been built on that 6-year plan, and I just think that we're going to lock in a lot of these single lots. They're going to be hard to build on. If you would, go ahead and turn to that second page. I'll just run through those real quick. 509 West Tahlequah Street, a couple lots there that the builder's planning to build on. No sidewalks on either side of that. 601 South Oak Hill, this happened to be my neighbor's house, and it's abandoned, and a builder's looking at that. Again, 1,100-foot long, 3-block long with no sidewalks on either side, but it's on the high priority list to be sidewalk. 927 South Oak Hill, same thing. 2400 South Carl, potential couple lots to be divided on that. I've just talked to the client actually Sunday on that. Again, this is actually, it's a total of 1 mile long on the master sidewalk plan to have sidewalks on it, but there are no on there. So again, all of these 8 projects I'm currently working on, it's going to affect their budget, and I don't think we need to continue to have to require sidewalks on those types of places. So somebody asked me just recently, what about in an older part of town prior to 2005 that there's some old sidewalks near it? That's in the wording that I even have as well. I think that's fair. The exemption applies only when there's no like improvements exist. So if we do have an infill down here and there's some old sidewalks, I think it's fair the builder should have to build the sidewalk and clean it up and fix it. I think that's totally fair. So,
Jim, you are down to 15 seconds.
great. Thank you. If you got any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, sir. Okay,
I had,
okay,
I had a
Lisa and
question.
then David.
Okay.
Lisa?
Jim, thank
Uh-huh.
you for this information.
Sure.
Are these locations that you identified, are they close to schools?
They're all over town. I wouldn't say they're close to schools at all. And again, there's 22 miles of medium or high priority sidewalks to be built according to the 2020 plan. That's a lot. That's 120,000 feet of sidewalk that they planned then. And I admitted in the report, priorities change. I get that. Mentioned the great sidewalk work on Washington Street. I'm not sure that was even the plan, but that shifts and change, and that's normal. But my concern is if we codify it to lock into this plan, then we're gonna be chasing a lot of sidewalks to nowhere. And I think we just clean it up. When we have a sidewalk to be built, we build it. But yeah, they're all over town. Like I said, Oak Hill Street where I live, it's a high priority street in 2020 to have sidewalks, but the street's 30 years old and it needs more work probably than a sidewalk, so.
You don't see in the future that, it sounds like some of them are close to a school. You don't see in the future that having sidewalks for the children to walk to school is a necessary?
No, I think they may be, but I just, based on the progress we're making on this plan, if we, we're 70% through this sidewalk plan season, and we were only 5 to 10% completed, it doesn't seem to be a reasonable thing to hang our sidewalk, where we build our sidewalks to. That's all I'm saying. Now, we could update it, but I'm not sure it's going to solve the problem, for instance, of these 8 projects I'm working on. So.
Is there a compromise you can think of that would kind of fit the goal of maybe in the future, if we're not there, but more kids move into the area and they need to walk to the school?
So just let me, because this is not anything that I don't think staff is ready to discuss, that perhaps Jim should get with our staff and bring some of these things and then bringing that all back to you so that we're not sitting here, saying, well, is there a compromise? And staff is over here. They don't really know how to answer that because they haven't had an opportunity.
I think that'd be great.
So Alan, did you have something else you wanted to add to that?
No, I agree with you.
Okay. So if I could ask if the board is good with that, because it is very difficult for staff to be able to answer and to tell you, kind of what they see, because they are our experts.
Right.
So Jim, if you're good with that,
Sure.
then I would ask that we move forward with that.
I do have one question
Yes.
for Mr. Caldwell.
Okay, go ahead. Lisa's not quite through.
This is for staff. Do we know the money that you get from people that build, that money goes right back into building sidewalks?
That is, yes, that's collected specifically, and it can only be used for sidewalks.
Can it be used for sidewalks anywhere, or does it have to be in that area?
It's currently citywide. We're not large enough to have zones for the fees that we collect to be applied to.
So if we have it on the master plan, we are going to be building, the city with that money is going to be building these sidewalks.
Or as the areas develop, a lot of these would be built by the city. So I think there's a list of 80 projects or so, and that 2026, I think that's the quality of life tax, and so that's why that's kind of tied to that date. Which of course that money has been spent on other things other than only sidewalks. But Mr. Caldwell's correct. This was supposed to be revised 2 years ago and back before the board, and that's something that staff's working on.
David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jim, I caught something you said just a moment ago, and I had read it earlier when reviewing the board packet, but did you say that the amendment language was not actually given to the Planning Commission? That they approved it before the amended?
Well, at the March 11th planning meeting, I was there and presented some of the same information. That was a compromise that was added, and I didn't have a copy of it, and I don't think any of the board had a copy of this sidewalk plan. I put that in the packet this morning as well, so we all had a copy of that.
Kevin, I think you had a comment to that? Is that?
Yes, that came up in the meeting as a suggested compromise between staff and the planning commission. And of course, since it wasn't planned, it wasn't provided to them, but that is in the board packet.
Thank you.
Well, my concern is that it says the planning commission unanimously voted to forward this ordinance to the board with the recommendation to approve the ordinance with amended language, expanding the application beyond cul-de-sacs and no outlet streets. But it bothers me that they did not currently have that language or table it to come back and approve it with whatever was decided. It's just odd that they would approve it before the amended language was brought up. Which is what it sounded like.
Well,
that's the way it kind of reads too.
They did suggest language that we, worked into something that represented that motion, but the recommendation from staff was not to delay this ordinance since the board has been asking for it. So that's why we didn't table it for another month.
Okay. No, I get it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Betsy.
From watching the meeting, and you were there, I wasn't, it looked like the Planning Commission made the decision on all this, and they didn't even have a copy of the sidewalk plan to make this decision, which that seems kind of important that they should have had. Did they have one at the meeting?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, not at the meeting. It wasn't, like I said, that was added during the meeting to their consideration for the motion, but of course, they would have approved it back in 2020 since the Planning Commission approves master plans.
Yeah, okay.
So, no, just let me ask a quick question. If we make adjustments or amendments, you all come back with some of the proposed changes after you all have talked about it, does it start all over again? I mean, can we just move forward like with the second reading with amendments, changes?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Chris.
If you make an amendment to an ordinance during its first reading, then it can carry through to the next two readings. If you make those amendments during the second reading, it starts the process over, so that becomes ex facto the first new reading.
Okay, okay.
Can I find some proof of that? Because we used to make motions to amend a motion on the second or third reading and go right ahead and pass it.
Madam Mayor, I would deflect that to the city attorney.
So, Jay?
Well, I formally ask that we get that sent to us, please. Email.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'll be glad to take a look at that and provide the board with a response to that question. I don't have that on the top of my head. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. I think that would be good.
Should we table it then to the next meeting since we don't know, or?
Madam Mayor, I don't know. I think it should be forwarded with whatever language you all wish to see as a board. I don't know that we have direction for a change other than the proposed language from Mr. Caldwell.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I would also point out to the board that you do have the ability to, the board does have the ability to combine the second and third reading to catch that back up, or all three readings at any time by the board's will.
So if I'm understanding you right, if we wait until the next reading and there are adjustments made, that becomes the first reading, yes? But then they could, the next meeting, which would in effect be the third reading, is what we have now, they could do second and third, and that would keep the process on time, on the timeline that you're looking for. Is that correct?
I believe administratively that's correct.
That is correct.
Okay, so, board, everyone get that? Okay, and Jay, you are going to send that to them so they will have that information.
I will, thank you.
I've
Yes,
asked
sir.
that to be sent to the board.
Yes, yes, just send it to the board. Yes, sir.
It sounds like it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Kinda. All right. Anything else, board?
I
Yes,
guess,
Betsy.
Madam Mayor, sorry.
No.
So if we are going to vote on it tonight, I would like it amended the way Jim has it, because I think that'll cover the issues we've had for a long time. But then also, it will, where there are sidewalks already, people will have to put in new sidewalks or whatever. So anyway, I would like it amended.
And I think that that's, the end game is what we're trying to get to, is why that we're asking that staff and Jim have an opportunity to look at that and bring it back to you at the next reading. So everyone is on the same page, if you will, because staff hasn't had an opportunity to do what they need to do after your discussion, because they've had input from you on how you all feel about this. So I think that's kind of where we are. Is that correct, Alan?
Yes, if Jim wants to come down and meet with staff, we'll make time for him and look at any possible changes and make sure we're doing our due diligence of what the city needs.
Okay. So with that in mind, staff, you are comfortable with that?
So what's the final? Are we making an amendment, not making an amendment?
We are looking at it as presented tonight.
Okay.
First reading.
And then I guess asking for clear direction on what you want that language to be in the future. So if you have settled on the language that's been provided by Mr. Caldwell, then I think you could make a motion with that language.
So I don't have a vote. I'm just asking if they're going to vote with that language, is that still within our code and our,
It would fit.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, it would fit it within our code the same way, but staff's recommendation is what was originally provided in the packet.
Okay,
Madam Mayor,
that's what I'm looking for. Yes.
I would be, based on the fact that they really haven't had a chance to look into it, I would be uncomfortable voting for an amended version tonight. I would rather vote on it as we have it and let them have a chance to look at it and bring to us, we talked about some compromise issues and things like that. I'd rather have them have a chance to establish those and see what will work for what they have planned, and then bring that to us at the next meeting.
Okay,
That is my preference.
that's your preference. Alan?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
My recommendation would be table, and then
Okay.
we can make those changes, look at it, bring it back, and you can approve the first reading at the next meeting. And again, if to catch us back up,
Give
if the
them-
board is happy with that and that's what they want, we could ask for a second, third reading. But I would be more comfortable if we would table and
Table
then
it?
let us get this to you before you make any kind of vote. But that's, again, pleasure of the board.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we table this ordinance until the next meeting.
So moved. I have a motion and a second to table ordinance 25-12 until the second regular meeting in April, which I believe is the 15th. Roll call.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Burns.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Motion is approved by a 6-1 vote. We were also presented information for ordinance 25-13, which is tied to this. And I'm sorry, Alan?
It was tabled. Do you still want me to read
Yes,
that?
no, you don't need to, I'm sorry. We've tabled. So are we going to look at tabling the next ordinance? Because if I understand what Kevin was telling us, that they are tied together.
Madam Mayor, I
So,
make a
yes.
motion, we table ordinance 25-13
Thank you.
till the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to table to the second meeting in April, which is the 15th. Roll call.
Blair.
Yes.
Burns.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Motion is approved for both items to be tabled.
Did you say the previous one was a 6-1 vote?
6. I have that there was one no vote. You have all yeses?
I didn't hear
I
a
mean,
no
it doesn't
vote.
matter. I just,
On which one?
on the 2512, the one just prior to this.
The first tabled one.
Yeah, the first table.
I thought it was unanimous.
Okay, it is unanimous.
I was getting ready to ask because I didn't hear it.
It's a no. It's unanimous.
It is unanimous. Too much going on. So I don't have hearing. I've lost my hearing.
Too much going on.
Too much going on. Okay, so have we voted on, we have a motion and a second to table 2513. We did vote on that, right? All right. We are moving on. Next ordinance, 25-14, first reading, amending section 98-65 of the City Municipal Code, power cost adjustment. Phil?
Thank you,
Your
Mayor,
turn.
members of the board. Phil Stokes, Electric Director. GRDA has about 4 parts to their electric bill that they give the city each month. One part, which represents about 44% of the bill, is called the power cost adjustment. We were made aware that in our ordinance, the power cost adjustment, it talks about energy only. It's called the fuel adjustment is what it refers to. And so we can clarify what the power cost adjustment is. We've asked legal to give us some language so that it would make it clear that the power cost adjustment is more than just fuel. It also includes energy charges that GRDA has throughout the month, like capacity charge is one part of that, where they don't have enough generation to meet their needs. They'll have other generators on standby, and they're sitting there ready to go in case GRDA needs them for their additional power. And that's called a capacity charge, and it involves not only the fuel that generator needs, but it also the maintenance and the labor to keep the generators up to speed so that it's ready to go. And also in part of the power cost adjustment, GRDA goes out and buys power off the grid from our Southwest Power Pool. And so they buy and sell power, and that is included in the power cost adjustment. And so there's maintenance charges, power sales, and purchases that's involved in the power cost adjustment, and not just fuel charges. And so the language you have there is an attempt that's proposed to change it so it's clear that it's not just fuel, it is, it's things involved in getting power to us as a customer. And so available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Phil. Directors?
Madam Mayor.
David?
Phil, is this changing our rate in any way?
No, sir, no way.
Did the Utility Commission review this or get notified of it at
Yes.
least? Okay. Thank you.
Betsy?
Madam Mayor?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
It's covered.
Alan, did you have?
No, Phil, just, you may want to explain to the board, we're very clear that this is a PCA given the authority for me to, if we get an increase, like we got a 4% increase, but we budgeted this year to cover it. It's around $360,000 this year, the 4%. It's approximately around $3 per customer. Well, we're into the 6th month of that, depending if this passes, we could pass that PCA on, but we're also expecting another increase in October of another 4%, so on and so on for the next 3 to 4 years. So that was conversation in the utility board that's up to the board. We can pass PCA along gradually, or if the board wants to go, and again, this is not an increase of utilities, this is just passing along a charge. The board could decide, hey, we just want to do a $9 a month increase, and we won't have to touch this for 3 or 4 years. So that's our thought, but again, that's up to the board. Phil, am I saying that? Anything to add?
No, sir.
I did have,
So
sorry.
I'll come to Betsy.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, let's say it's a 4% increase and we're going to pass it on. Is that we're just passing on the 4% increase from GRDA, or are we going to increase the retail rate by 4%? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, this is strictly a pass-through. There's no markup on the PCA at all. It's just what GRDA charges us, and it's based upon the previous month's purchases that GRDA has. And what they try to do is to make it real as level throughout the year as possible, so that we don't have any crazy spikes from one month to the next. And so they're constantly looking at the market, all the costs and everything, and they just try to keep it as smooth as possible.
Thank you.
This is no additional revenue. This is just us getting that money back. I think concerns the utility board, just of a couple members, they were concerned with the PCA, hey, it may be $3 this year, but we don't know how many customers we're going to have next year. Are we going to gain or lose? I think we're going to gain. So will that charge be $2.70? I can't tell anyone the PCA will be $3 the next 3 years, because we won't know that depending on customers, correct, Director?
Yes.
David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I didn't know, Phil, I thought we already covered the PCA in our bill whenever GRDA passed it through us. Is it not already, I mean, I remember somewhere on the bill, it says PSA.
Yeah, it's called, power cost adjustment. It is a separate item on your bill.
PCA, yeah.
Yeah, but it was called, in our ordinance, it's referred to fuel adjustment.
Okay.
And that implies fuel only. But we just want to make it clear.
But GRDA calls it PCA, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And in our billing, we call it PCA, right? It's just the ordinance says fuel.
yes, sir.
Okay. So it's really almost like a housekeeping measure.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right, when I was reading through this, it just didn't, if we ever called on it, we might be okay with fuel. I just want to be very clear with people that this is a fuel cost adjustment and not a fuel cost, but an energy. And
So
get away from the word fuel.
will we expect our customers to see any change in their next bill after this goes through? I mean, it won't go through tonight, but after the ordinance is passed?
Yes, sir. If the board approves this, then the increase that GRDA is passing on to us will be increased to them. And if we go through the PCA, the power cost, pass it on through the PCA, the residential folks would see just a little bit more than $2 a month increase in their bill,
Okay.
in the PCA bill.
Just, if I may, Madam Mayor, just rough numbers, Director Allen, is to say you guys pass this and we have five, I'm trying to get over here to see.
No, it's all right. I just don't want to.
Say we pass this with 5 months left in the year, we'd be passing out about $15 in total. Because the cities we've already budgeted, so we've already paid for it this year. But if it's 5 months, 4 months, we're looking at $12 if we use that $3 a month number.
For the remaining of the year.
Correct.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Lisa?
Bill, I have a question. Is this a variable rate or is this a set number?
No.
It seems like the conversation's directed to a set number instead of a variable rate.
It varies each month.
And so whenever we get that number in, the system automatically calculates the customers to ratio and changes that percentage. So it's a variable.
Yes.
Because it seems like we're talking about a set rate.
What we're thinking is it's going to average around $3. We don't see it being, depending on customers, that variable.
I guess hearing that, that's what, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the way GRDA's rate increase to us was on a part of the bill that fluctuates each month. Okay? And so it's not set in stone what that is each month.
Okay, that's what because I've explained to people the PCA before on the bill, and I always thought it was a variable, but then I was starting to question myself, is it not a variable rate anymore?
But it varies very small. It's not going to like 1 month be $3 and the next month be 10.
You just won't notice.
It just, historically, based on the previous 23, 24, it'd be less than $3.
Okay.
go from between $2 and $3.
Okay, and so the money that we are making up the difference for recently, have we made up a difference for
No,
what it
we
is? We haven't. The city has not had to make up a difference.
No, it's about losing, well, the city has about $35,000 a month is what we're having to absorb. We're paying more for electricity than we have since October of last year, about $35,000.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with the PCA. That has to do with the rate.
Yeah, we're just paying more for electricity.
Okay.
Anyone else? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address ordinance 25-14?
Madam Mayor, I make
Yes.
a motion, we approve ordinance 2514 on its first reading, submitting the rules and reading title only.
Second.
We have a motion
I
and a second.
took the words out of your
Yeah.
mouth, I'm sorry.
No,
but,
that's fine. We're placing ordinance 25-14 on its first reading. Roll call.
Burns.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Bristler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes. Motion is approved. Alan?
Ordinance number 13-24, an ordinance amending Article 2 of Chapter 98 of the Siloam Springs Code by amending electric rates and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, sir. Next is Resolution 13-25, significant development permit for the 2300 block of South Lincoln Street, the City of Siloam Springs Central Utility. Ben?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the board, Ben Rhodes, Senior Planner. You're looking at a significant development, 2300 block of South Lincoln Street, zoned I-1. And the applicant, which is the City of Siloam Springs, wishes to construct a 14,000 square foot warehouse on the property, as well as having about 438,660 square foot gravel equipment storage yard. And this is occurring on about 20.5 acres. And here is the site plan, the blue kind of hatching on the right-hand side. I'll circle this so you guys can see that. That is the gravel yard, and then the actual warehouse facility would be, or not warehouse, but the offices and such for the city facility would be right there where I circled just there. So there will be, it is consistent with the zoning for the property. They are providing ample parking. The driveway is existing on the site. There's a curb cut already on Highway 59 for the driveway. It's just not paved. It's just a dirt driveway, so that is consistent, or will be improved. It is considered legal non-conforming. There will be a sidewalk easement requirement along the Highway 59 side because there's not enough room in the right-of-way to put the sidewalk in, so it has to be on the city property for that sidewalk. And I did mention the laydown yard back behind the warehouse. So Planning Commission finds this significant development as presented, meeting minimum requirements for city code. There are 2 suggested conditions. The applicant must file a new set of utility plans that will be attached to the building permit when that goes on the construction permit review. And then the second would be the access easement that I mentioned for the sidewalk. And with that, we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Directors?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Betsy.
So we've also discussed adding the animal shelter to this property. Is this taking that into consideration for the future?
I believe it is, yeah. They're not constructing that right now, but I believe some of the areas to the south there are laid out. I'll circle that. The areas back in here, I believe, are intended for future expansion for things of that nature. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Brad.
Ben, this is the site where we thought about moving the rodeo ground, is that correct? Is this the?
It is, yes, at one time.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anyone else? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this resolution? There being none, directors, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 13-25 for the significant development permit?
So moved.
Second.
And this would be with 2 conditions. Roll.
Wiles?
Yes.
Hunt?
Yes.
Rissler?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Carroll?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next is Resolution 14-25, Significant Development Permit for 3541 Highway 412 East, Dollar Tree. Megan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a significant development request for property located at 3541 Highway 412 East. This is the property directly to the east of Brick Oven Pizza. It's currently used as a commercial parking lot. The applicant is requesting to construct a 10,024 square foot Dollar Tree retail store proposed to be situated on 1.17 acres. This is the site plan for the development. The proposal is consistent with the C2 zoning for the property, and the applicant is proposing to utilize the 2 existing driveways to the south of the site along the private drive there, as well as proposing to construct a new driveway to the northeast of the site with access onto North Simon Sager Avenue. They're also proposing to construct a sidewalk along North Simon Sager with access to the proposed facility. The applicant is also requesting a 12.5% parking space reduction as part of this request per code section 102-75D of the City Municipal Code. This reduction would decrease the required parking for the development by 5 spaces, leaving a total of 35 parking spaces remaining. Staff has not received any calls or correspondence on this request. And finally, it should be noted that condition number 2 has been met following the Planning Commission hearing and therefore is no longer needed. With that said, staff finds that the proposed significant development as presented appears to meet all requirements as set forth, subject to condition number 1 as shown in your staff report, and staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Directors? There is no comments or questions, so is there anyone in the audience that has a comment for Resolution 14-25? There is not. Directors, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 14-25 with listed conditions?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Hunt?
Yes.
Rissler?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Carroll?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Wiles?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next is Resolution 15-25, Significant Development Permit, 420 North Simon Sager Avenue, the reserves at Siloam Springs. Megan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Megan Thomas, current planner. This is a significant development request for property located at 420 North Simon Sager Avenue. You may recall this is the site of the previously approved reserve apartment complex. The applicant is requesting to revise the previously expired approval for the reserves at Siloam Springs to include pickleball courts and additional parking and sidewalks. This is the revised site plan for the development. The significant development request was previously approved in July of 2023 and has since expired. On the screen is a comparison of the previously approved 2023 plan and the revised plan as presented today. As you can see, the applicant has revised the plan to the northeast of the clubhouse building to include pickleball courts and additional interior sidewalks and parking areas. That's this little part right here is the pickleball courts, and they've added some additional parking in where these 16 spaces are at. Additionally, the applicant is proposing to shift the clubhouse building and the pool area slightly in order to give a little more privacy to the future tenants that are going to be utilizing that pool. They've also added in an additional dog park area to serve future tenants as well, and that's over here next to the dumpsters. Staff has not received any calls or correspondence on this request, and after review, staff finds that the proposed significant development as presented appears to meet all requirements as set forth in the City Municipal Code, and staff is available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Megan. Directors, comments or questions? There being none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address Resolution 15-25? If not, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 15-25 for the significant development permit?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Rissler?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Carroll?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Wiles?
Yes.
Hunt?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Thank you. So with that, we will move to the administrator's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no expenditures to report. Some news, a survey was launched today to gather feedback from the community on the desired tourism initiatives for Siloam Springs. The survey will remain open until May 1st. If you have any questions, please let us know. We're excited to get your feedback. West Tulsa Overlay Project set to begin this week. A door tag will be placed on all residents along with a map. There won't be any closures, but everyone should be prepared for short delays when milling and paving equipment is present. Appropriate signage and flaggers will be present at all times. And if you get a chance, I drove it today, the Tahlequah, just I think west of the city hall is completed, so that street looks really good going through there. That was done in-house. Benton Street, just where you know Tulsa, our next project was supposed to be Benton, and that's what I told board. But once we started looking, the project's gonna cost a little more than we thought. We have the money in our budget. We're just gonna bid that out, and I'll give you an update. Community is invited to enjoy morning on a high-flying fun at City Park during the annual Kite Day event hosted by Siloam Springs Park and Recreation. The event will take place on Saturday, April 5th from 9 to 11 a.m. And the last thing I heard one of the directors mention it, so I'll give you a quick update on the Oklahoma land sale. Our city attorney let me know that I've been checking on that. They hopefully finished the survey this past weekend, so hopefully we will get that closed as soon as possible. Was there any updates other than that?
That's the last word we had.
Just give you an update. We should be seeing something soon on that. That's the end of my report.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if you don't mind, I'm going to head out. I'm just not
I
up to it.
understand, David, yes.
This is not an April Fool's joke. I really have, I just wore this because I don't know if it's a bug or gallbladder or what, but I just need to go on. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
David.
thank you for my prayer team for all your prayers. Thank you so much.
Yes. So with that, we will move to our director's report. Tonight, Brad, I'm going to start with you, and Reed, we will end with you.
Okay.
Sure.
Main Street has their event at the Brick Ballroom this Friday. You could buy tickets online. It's always a enjoyable time to meet a cross-section of our community. And Sunday morning, the American Legion will be on Highway 412 replacing flags that got pretty beat up with our weather patterns. So that'll be happening. And I just wanted, they left, so, and I get it, staff, who doesn't want to leave? But I just want to thank staff for, you know, I give them challenges because I know we can work with the community. So I appreciate people like Jim Caldwell, been in the community for a long time, quite familiar with the lay of the land, working with staff and staff working with them. I understand some of the negativity out there and some hard feelings on change, but the reality of a growing community is not only do we have urban sprawl, but we have to look within ourselves. And within ourselves, it's we have street projects with businesses that create revenue. And it'll be long-term revenue, hopefully long beyond our lifespans. Because we are here for a limited amount of time. For some reason, we carry a chip on our shoulder, but we're not giving anything away free. An $8,000 to $10,000 street improvement is actually nothing in the span of a city lifetime. They're working with developers is a very important tool, and I think the city is in the middle of displaying that right now. Unified Development Code still being worked on, working with small and large businesses, giving them incentives, inviting people in and creating that environment that we do work with large and small, and that's important. And I appreciate staff for taking our directive, and I know they'll do a good job. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Mindy?
I don't have a lot to say, other than it looks like there's a lot going on in the city, event sponsored by the city. So I'm not sure where this calendar came from, but it looks great. And looks like the library is going to be especially busy during the month of April. And then we have Kite Day coming up this weekend, and the Dogwood Race. during the Dogwood Festival. So lots of things to look forward to in April. Hopefully, not just April showers.
Thank you, Mindy. Did you have something?
Just to reiterate, that is something that I think a couple directors had asked, and also some citizens, we thought we would make it easier and try to update that list where you guys didn't miss things and get that out there. And if you didn't notice, go to our website. Our spotlight this week is on our communication. We got a lot of neat things going on to keep people updated. One of the things, because some elderly folks told me, and I'm getting closer to that, is a lot of us don't do social media. So what we'll be doing quarterly is actually putting in a handwritten newsletter in their utility bill. It could be very expensive, so we're going to do it quarterly, and where people can stay updated. So, but thank you for that comment.
Ken?
Nothing tonight.
Okay.
You're done?
Yeah. Don't act so surprised.
Betsy?
I too wanted to say thank you to the American Legion for replacing the flags, for putting the flags out there. I just think it's one of the things that makes us special. And when I have out-of-town guests or other people, they always comment on the flags. And I just think that's a beautiful thing. And we're lucky to have the American Legion to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
I want to say thank you to staff for working on the sidewalk ordinance. We've been requesting it, and I know a lot of hours have been put into it, and I hope people are feeling heard, that we are making a difference on the ordinances and trying to, and so if we can find, I'm just glad we're making it work. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. I know they've already put a lot of work into the Dogwood Festival, and I know last year when I drove by, I seen Lindsay standing out there, and she had a smile on her face, and I don't know how she had a smile on her face, because I know she worked many hours before that. And so we appreciate the Chamber of Commerce. This Thursday is the first Friday coffee at Beautiful Lives. This Friday, not Thursday, first Friday, it's, yeah, Friday. It's at Beautiful Lives. And then on Saturday morning at 9 a.m., the Chamber of Commerce allows a prayer group to meet to pray for our community. Everybody's welcome to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I said earlier, and I'm glad I did, because staff has already headed out, but if you have a chance to go down Washington Street between Kenwood and Jefferson, they've done a lot of work there to repair and get that up to date, where we have sidewalk on both sides. It's looking really good. And we had the, it's escaping me now, Wednesday Coffee Conversation, I think it was called. We had that, and I had somebody talk to me about that and had a request, and I put that request in, and I thought it would take, a few weeks to get things done, and next thing you know, I'm getting a text from this individual saying thank you for getting their request addressed and taken care of, and something that was, to me, I didn't think much about it, but to him, he said it's been on my mind for years, and to have the city have a quick response to that was made me feel good, that we have the quality employees that are paying attention to that. Had another individual reach out to me, and I didn't have the answer, but I did have someone that they could reach out to, gave them the contact information. Happened to be with Ben Rhodes, and within the same day, he had a response back to this individual, and they took the time to say thank you. So I feel like we are putting forth the efforts to be able to work with our community and stay in communication with our community. So I applaud our staff, what we're doing, where we're going. It's a good thing. Personally, I think what's happening on College Street with the one-way between there by the milling around, what have you, it's much more than just the deck we're dealing with. We're dealing with the whole block. So when we look at the financial end of it, it's not just for one individual or one company, but it represents a few landowners in that area, but when you look at how things work, especially for the Dogwood Festival, that particular street is your transition from one portion over to the Benton Street area. And to make an improvement to where you feel like you have a good flow of what's going on, where we're going, what we're doing, I applaud that. And if it's going to take some dollars to do that, I'm all for it. I would agree that, if we need to get a permit, let's pull those first before we ask for forgiveness. But I think we've found a solution that can work here, and it can also not work just for that group at that time, but I think we'll see an improvement for Dogwood Festival. We'll see an improvement for people wanting to take advantage of our park system, which, in my opinion, is incredible. I love how the guys and girls are out taking care of mowing. They're out up by the library today putting out, I don't even know what it was, but it was looking good. And I appreciate what Travis is doing with his team out there and all the things that are happening. So the city of Siloam Springs, much to be appreciative of, thankful for. Springtime is here. I'm ready for that burn ban to not be there so that when we go camping, we can enjoy a full camping. But other than that, much to look forward to. Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. We are adjourned.